Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the September 17th special meeting of the Fairfield Board of Education. Present with us tonight, we have Mr. Krasnoff, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Jacobson, Mrs. Flynn, myself, Mr. Peterson, Mr. Testani, Ms. Maxon-Canelli, Mr. Asa, Mrs. Guernsey, and Mrs. Rinaldi. And if you'll all join in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And our one business item tonight is discussion and approval of Fairfield Public Schools waterfall through 2040. I just want to give a little for the public. We are doing this as something that we do every year in terms of setting our priorities before we meet with the town next week at the capital planning workshop to talk about what our capital plans look like for the years to come and see how they will mesh with other town priorities. Just as a reminder to people, we're not our own funding agency. We do depend on the town to fund and to bond our projects. And so this discussion is actually very important in a way to communicate what our priorities from an educational standpoint are, and then there's going to be an additional communication and negotiation with the town about funding. So this is the step that we're on tonight, is to approve our waterfall, which again is a priority document. Now, I'll also say before we actually get to the business item, I was looking for unanimous consent to open up the floor for public comment. I wasn't able to put it on the agenda due to our bylaws, but I knew that it would be a big meeting. So if there is no objection to adding a public comment section now, there will be, because customarily a public comment part before we vote. If you wish to wait until our discussion is complete, there will be, I'll throw it out to the public at that point, but if you wish to make your comments now and go home and go to bed and watch us later, that I understand too. So with that, I'll invite anyone who wants to come up and speak on the matter specifically on tonight's agenda, which is the discussion and approval of our capital projects waterfall. Our bylaws allow us to have somebody up here for 3 minutes to speak on our agenda issues. If you can just come up and say your name and address on whatever order you'd like to come up.
Dina Ryder, 400 Flintlock Road. I am the Dwight PTA Board of Ed rep. So we as a Dwight community are here to listen to your vote on the waterfall. A big part of that waterfall is money dedicated to us getting a new school. We're here to advocate that you maintain a budget that would allow for a new build versus a renovation. Since we only have 3 minutes, I won't spend time talking about the objective, logical reasons why a new building makes sense. Instead, I want to explain to you the social emotional costs which can't be quantified and added to your spreadsheet. I want you to really put yourselves in our shoes. A renovation would mean relocation of our students and staff for 2+ years. What does a relocation mean for us? Relocation doesn't sound like a bad word, but it's catastrophic. It means being spread across many schools across town, treating us like Tetris pieces and not humans. It means no neighborhood school, not even close. It means extremely long bus rides well across town. It means 2 or maybe 3 bus stops to contend with in the morning and the afternoon. It means I can't ever drop off or pick up my kids if they're at different schools. Because of that, it means we probably can't make most of the after-school activities work because of the logistics. Will my kids have to drop out of their beloved sports because they can't be at a 4 p.m. practice on time? Am I supposed to join 2 PTAs, 3 PTAs? It means that my kids would be moved and with maybe a couple of classmates, but statistically speaking, probably no friends. It means my boys can't say hi to each other in the hallway like they love to do. While I know that math and reading can be taught anywhere, the social emotional damage needs to be considered. And I would argue that the severe social emotional impact will hinder their educational experience. This raises ethical and possibly legal questions. Lastly, with his permission, I was asked to share the story of a member of our Dwight community, Dwight dad, Chris Byrne. Chris's wife, Kristen, a beloved member of our Dwight community and mother to a 3rd grader and 1st grader, fought a courageous battle with cancer this year. Kristen passed away just last month, and she's terribly missed. There have been several other family tragedies over the last couple of years at our school. You're dealing with humans here, and for many, there is simply not much resilience left. A relocation would be devastating for these families in particular. I want to remind you that during the racial imbalance and redistricting talks, many members of this board were not willing to consider pocket redistricting because it was simply unfair and unethical to that small subset of students, even though it was the easiest solution. It was better to spread the pain around, and that's a direct quote. Board members were very concerned about maintaining feeder patterns, about grandfathering in older children, etc., to reduce the social emotional harms. I can't understand how this is any different. In fact, this would be much worse. You'll be destroying a community for 2+ years, and moving us back won't fix the damage. In fact, it will be another transition that our children will have to face. These children, staff, and families will remember the trauma for the rest of their lives. A multi-site relocation is harmful, devastating, and unethical. I'm not sure how anyone who would vote for this could sleep at night
It
when
feels like you're wrapping up. It's been 3 minutes.
Yeah.
If you could just put a period on, that'd be great.
Yes, please vote to maintain a budget wherein a location can be avoided. You have a choice here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to speak for you? Please feel free to come up. If not, I'm happy to go right into our sorry, thank you.
Hi, Lauren Efren. Wanted to give everybody else a chance first. I will keep it under 3 minutes. Lauren Efren, 241 Burr Street, PTAC President-elect and member of the Dwight Building Committee. This board has one sole purpose: to do what is best for students in Fairfield. Truly, that is what this debate for Dwight is all about. It's not even really what's best for just Dwight students, but for the rest of the 10 elementary schools and their students as well. What you decide to do at 1600 Reading Road will outlast all of you. It will outlast every parent and student in this room right now. The school that was built in 1962 is old, small, lacks accessibility for all, fresh air returns, and proper fire safety. It puts the students and staff at risk. For now, it is safe to occupy, but not for much longer. We've already seen all the cracks. We've known about them for years. We've had Band-Aid after Band-Aid. A renovation is just another Band-Aid on a broken down building that is not worth saving, not even as a new foundation. But the memories are still there. The pride of being a Dwight Dragon, of being the oldest still standing elementary school in town with a history that stretches back to our namesake, Timothy Dwight, who started the Dwight Academy in 1783. We are incredibly proud of our history, but also our current school, which despite its appearances is nationally ranked as a school of distinction and one of the best elementary schools in the state of Connecticut. Our community has been through too much heartache and anxiety in the last 3 years as this debate continues. We have rallied time and time again to make our voices heard. Then finally, the Facilities Committee came up with a solution that makes sense: a plan to build new plus accommodate the needs of ECC and CLC classrooms while also keeping our beloved school open while the new school is built, essentially to keep our school together and intact. Why? Not because it's just the right thing to do financially, though it is when you compare it to the costly risks of renovation. Not because it's what the ECC staff want. They already have 3 schools to navigate. Not even because it will help the town keep its AAA rating, which was never really in threat of being downgraded. As our own financial advisor stated last year during review, the bonding cap could exceed the limit for a few years if the town could show the financial rationale and plan to allocate the debt responsibly. So why did they do it? Because it's what's best for the students, pure and simple. The one goal of this board is to do that. Look out for the students, because the Board of Finance, the RTM, and even the Board of Selectmen don't have their best interest at heart. You do. That is your job. Please do what is best for our students. Please build a new Dwight with an ECC and CLC to accommodate more than just 240 students, but the ability to host 392 students and build a better future for all Fairfield students to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? All right, seeing none, well, we'll move on to our business item. Item 3A, with the recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the Fairfield Public Schools waterfall through 2040. Can I have a motion? Mrs. Jacobson, seconded by Mr. Lee. I'm going to start. We do have a couple of administrative amendments to just move a couple of things. I hope these are going to be uncontroversial, but Angela, maybe if you want to come up and introduce them. I have the checks. I guess I can read these for the sake of the public. So the proposed amendment one, to amend a motion to amend the capital projects waterfall as follows. For Fairfield Ludlow High School roofing project with the change move from fiscal year 26-27 to fiscal year 31-32, with the updated cost estimate of $332,294, reflecting 5 years of escalation at 8% annually, with state reimbursement at 27.5% of $91,381, and a revised district cost share of $240,913. Are you moving this as a motion?
Sorry, I'm not moving it. I'm wondering if there's a printed copy of this because we usually ask for printed copies and I couldn't follow along. That was too much for me to follow along with. I'm just asking, do we have printed copies?
A copy was given to me about 10 minutes ago from the
Okay, I
administrator.
mean, that's fine. So can we just wait until we all get them?
sounds
That would
like-
be helpful.
I do need a motion. Mr. Asa, seconded by Mr. Lee. Thank you. Angela, as we're passing these around, Mr. Papa George, if you can explain what the rationale is for amendment number one.
So I apologize, they're kind of out of order. Ludlow is the roof project that, it lines up with the Ward roof project that we spoke about at the last meeting about this. We were able to dig in, do some research on it, speak with our vendors and our PM contractors, and we felt that the roof is in stable condition. It's handling well. So by pushing it out, we would be able to create a little leeway in the ask this year, and it also is not a concern with the ability for the roof to maintain.
Mr. Lee,
Just want to confirm the 27.5 state and reimbursement, that's our normal reimbursement for that type of project?
That is our current normal reimbursement for that type of project. Every year we get a new report, so our waterfall changes based on that, but currently that is what it is.
Ms. Flynn?
Thank you. And excuse my naiveness on this, they're coupled in the original place in the waterfall, that 26-27. Obviously, they're coupled again in 20-31-32. Is there, you want them to stay coupled, those two projects, correct? Can you maybe give some insight into why?
We believe we would see some savings by putting them both out to bid at the same time. So that's why we've kept them coupled. It's not an entire roof replacement. It's a small section for both. So one company would be able to bid on it and get it done.
Thank you, just helpful for the public as well.
Ms. Jacobson? Yes, Nick moved it and it was seconded by Mr. Lee.
Great, okay. Now that's on the table, I just wanted to give some little more color. We did discuss this morning with administration in the committee level. I did ask the question if this had any bearing on the HVAC projects in terms of where they sit, because Ludlow's would be in line, but Ward's would be after, and these partial roof replacements do not sit above where the HVAC are going in either of those buildings, so it has no bearing on the HVAC piece. So that was one of the questions, to make sure that we didn't need to get these roofs done either before or at the same time as both of the HVACs where they sit. So that wasn't a concern. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
Any further comments by board members? Ms. Aguirre?
I just have a question about the useful life of the roof that is being delayed. Where are we with that? Did I miss that? Like what is the urgency in fixing it? And if we move it back, what is the risk that we're taking on?
So we did work with our roofing contractor, our PM contractor. It's performing well. We pulled the work orders for this particular section of the roof, and we really have not seen any significant problems with it, other than a couple of here and there of a maintain, but nothing that would concern us moving these out.
And Mr. Papa George, I'll just confirm, if this roof if it begins to leak, we will repair it.
Absolutely.
This is not, we're not saying that we will not repair it under no circumstances until 31-32.
Not at all.
This is really just for planning purposes.
Our roofs have a preventative maintenance program on them. Any leaks are reported immediately, and they have less than 24 hours to respond to repairs for leaks.
Thank you. Any further comments from the board? I'll throw it to the public. Are Any public comments on the amendment to amend the capital projects waterfall to move the Ludlow High School roofing project? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor? As unanimous. Thank you. Move on to Administration's Amendment number 2 with the motion to amend the capital projects waterfall as follows for the project capital Fairfield Ward High School roofing project with a change move from fiscal year 26-27 to fiscal year 31-32. Updated cost estimate $332,294, reflecting 5 years of escalation at 8% annually. The state reimbursement at 27.5% of $91,381, and the revised district cost share $240,913. Can I have a motion? Mr. Krasnoff, seconded by Mrs. Jacobson. Any additional comment on this, Mr. Papageorge?
Very similar,
Okay.
same condition. And again, joining them together would hopefully reveal some savings in the bid process.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll throw it to the public. Any questions on the amendment to move the Ward roofing project to fiscal year 31-32? Seeing none, back to the board. All in favor? Vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. And moving on from there, I'm opening the floor to the board for any discussion on our main motion or additional amendments if there are any. Anyone would like to speak? Mr. Asa.
Thank you. I wanted to start off for apologizing for missing the last meeting. Had some family circumstances that were unavoidable. But I have caught myself up and appreciate all the time and effort that went into the last meeting and other meetings. I just wanted to make a couple statements regarding this. I do and have said this for a long time that I believe the kids at Dwight and Jennings deserve to have the same environment that kids at Riverfield, Holland Hill, Mill Hill, the schools that have been renovated. So that there is no question for me on that. You know, what it winds up being and what kind of funding we get and where we wind up will happen after this phase. But I do think, you know, we have to be prepared, you know, at this price tag for some pushback, and, you know, the will of the board seems to be to move this forward. So hopefully that's what'll happen. And, you know, whatever the will of the board is, regardless of my feelings on some of the other stuff on the waterfall, will always be to support the will of the board. I do have to say that I feel like we're missing an opportunity here with the ECC. And some board members may disagree with me. But since 2018, I've been on this board since 2017, but I think it started in 2018. We started hearing from staff and special ed that ideally a one-site ECC would be great. It's clear that that's not happening. But I do feel like we're missing an opportunity to try and advocate and push for a two-site ECC. And you know, the giant steps we didn't, you know, look, this is a new conversation. It came up in this Svigals town discussion and everything. But I still don't support ECC at Dwight. When we would have an opportunity or could potentially advocate for an opportunity to have a 10-section ECC, you know, and I applaud the staff and the special ed administration for always saying, this is what we want, but we will always work with what we're given. And I do believe that. I do believe that they are, you know, if this is what happens and this is where ECC winds up, I believe they will put on a stellar program. But I do believe that, you know, the idea in exploring a central location, not to slow down Dwight, I think we should move forward with Dwight. I just personally don't agree with the ECC aspect of it. And that's based on the years of hearing from our staff from the ECC. I also have some concerns, and I know this has been discussed, but I'm worried about the timing of the Walter Fitzgerald campus AC. being in front of the high school. And with the cost, no matter what scenario the town approves for Dwight, it's going to be a huge number. And I fear that they're going to want to push out the AC projects based on cash flow, based on bonding capacity. And I have some concerns as to why we're doing Walter Fitzgerald now. At this point in the waterfall, where it's placed. I think for a building that's, servicing less than 50 kids compared to buildings that are, have close to 1,500 or 1,300 students in them, I just think that we should be getting our heads around if the town bodies come back to us and say, we can't, this doesn't work in this time frame or whatever. I think that is a project that we should consider pushing off. And simply just because of the number of students affected and the time that these other schools, have been waiting as well. And again, just to reiterate, this document, I mean, we're voting on this symbolically tonight to move it forward to the other town bodies as we have in the past. But it's a forecast. It's not a hard and fast document. It's a live document. Changes can happen. Changes have happened many times over the years. But some of these concerns of mine give me pause on moving it forward in the way it is, and mostly, I know we're on a timeline, but the whole idea of missing this opportunity of trying to take the Giant Steps property really gives me pause. So those are my comments.
Thank you very much. Any other board comments or questions? Ms. Jacobson?
I'll just speak to the placement of Walter Fitzgerald, and Mr. Papa George can jump in here too. I believe that was placed in that way, but not because of the approval year, but because of the cash flow and how it breaks out, and that Walter Fitzgerald was sandwiched between the two, and actually to address town needs in terms of spreading out the debt. And it was a valley point, so that's why it was sit there. So I hear your point in terms of priority possibly for us, but it was sandwiched between those two specifically to address the cash flow piece of that. So I just wanted to mention that. So.
Any other board comment? Ms. Flynn?
Thank you. It's interesting because I kind of took the Giant Steps in a little bit of a different direction when we received it. I'll just give 2 points. One of my concerns with kind of the methodology with how this work came back before us was not really allowing for the educational process in terms of, especially when I look at that Giant Steps facility. And I hear your point, Mr. Asa, that we've been going on about ECC since I was sitting in the audience then. My kids were at the ECC then. So I think a lot of us have heard a lot of anecdotals in regards to the ECC, but what I haven't heard is a real data-based presentation in terms of our preschool. And what I can tell you from looking just on EdSite, very top level, we aren't performing very well. And the schools across our state that have one sites are also not performing very well, especially in the peer model setting. So what concerns me, and I've always supported our preschools and elementary schools, I think it's a baseline. I saw the difference. I had students, now I'll go anecdotal. I had students at the ECC at Ward, and then I got moved to Stratfield. And I saw a pretty significant difference for my own students being incorporated into an elementary school environment. I saw them loving to see the older students. I saw them interacting with older students. I saw them interacting with the bus patrol. They came home telling me that their mascot, the starfish, his favorite food was popcorn. I'll never forget it because it was so impactful to hear them speak. So while I appreciate the anecdotals, I think they're incredibly valuable. I think if we're going to have any kind of gigantic conversation about diverting that level of funds, opening a 19th footprint, we can't even take care of the 18 we have before us. Before we do any of that, I would have had months of educational input from our administration, which we didn't have. So at this point, with what's before me, I genuinely feel academically I would support early childhood education at our elementary schools. I think that's the better model. That's what I would support as a board member. I think that our ECC is incredibly valuable, and I think getting it into a few centralized locations is exactly part of this goal, and getting it on the west side of town at Dwight, I think is amazing. We were always worried about those bus times. I was one of the people who asked for that to be, audited through our special education department, and the results were pretty dramatic for me. So when I look at getting it centralized, I kind of look at what we have before us. The Ward site is working great right now. We have an ability to add 5 classrooms, and as we look forward, we see other opportunities. But I really didn't see the same in the feasibility study. While a shiny new building is great, I didn't see that as enough to distract me from what the need is before us. And any kind of delay to the current state of our buildings, especially the Dwight facility, was just too much for me to move away from it. So that's just my thoughts where I was on preschool, and kind of the opposite end of where you were. So I just think it's important to kind of highlight, where we're all coming from at this time.
Thank you. If I can add at this point, I understand where you're coming from. I'm not sure I agree with the characterization that we have 18 facilities that we can't take care of. I think we have a complex footprint and a dedicated operations staff that is doing its best, and there's always more work to be done. But I have never in my time on this board felt like we were not doing the job that needed to be done for our kids as far as facilities were concerned. Obviously, there's room for improvement, and what we're here in part to talk about is long-range improvement, but I simply do not agree with that characterization.
Can I respond?
Please.
Just the state of the delay for Dwight and how long this is taking to come before us, I would just argue that I would not agree with that. And it would be a massive, to me, fiscally challenging position to open a new building, along with the cost of operating an entire new building. We have never gotten an update on that. We don't know what that would look like. So I just have concerns all around how that would impact the Dwight. That would mean a tremendous amount of movement to this. So while I appreciate that maybe my semantics or my framing wasn't exactly that, I don't believe that Dwight is still sitting before us. Dwight was supposed to be completed decades ago. So we haven't taken care of what's before us, in my opinion, and I'll stand by that.
I think we can move on from that. Mr. Krasnoff.
Thank you. First off, I just want to thank Svegal's work. It helped highlight some of the stuff we've been trying to accomplish over the last year, and gave some more clarity to it. I do appreciate that they did look at giant steps. To be honest, obviously educational stuff aside, because I think the educational benefits, whether it's at one standalone site or 2 sites that have elementary kids already in it, could be debated, and we could probably all bring information saying both are good. I look at the bottom line. In terms of giant steps, we really don't even have the hard numbers. They didn't have any hazardous material in it. We don't know what year it's going to fit on the waterfall. We have a lot of the same questions that we sat here and debated about Dwight and about Jennings, and is part of the reason that this project was delayed a full year. So for us to sit here and project out, let's say it's 33 million, I personally think it's going to be closer to 50 by the time it gets done. I don't think it's responsible to commit in any way, shape, or form to spending anywhere close to that amount of money when we know that we can do a project at Dwight with 5 classes, and it would cost at least 1/3 of that, if not less, after reimbursement. Thank you.
Ms. Maxon Cannelli.
Thank you. First, I just don't want to leave the comment hanging out there. So through the chair to Mrs. Flynn, and then I'll pause if she wouldn't mind answering. I'm genuinely unfamiliar with what you mean when you say the data isn't good. And not only for Fairfield, I guess, no, I don't need to focus on the other towns, but if you could tell me what data is.
If you can go on.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
I'm asking, so for what data from our ECC is showing that we aren't achieving?
The state collects data on peer-to-peer ratio and several other areas. I'm happy to give it to you. I don't have it before us. It's also not on our agenda. We're not even supposed to be speaking about, but I can provide it to you, but it's on EdSite. You can go and you can pull up preschool data on every single district throughout the state, including.
So that I'm clear, you're not talking about academic
No,
data.
I'm talking about goals data in terms of preschool. So that's what I was referencing. Excuse me if I said the wrong word.
I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole, since we are talking about a facilities plan.
And so that's my follow-up for why that's a integral part of the facilities plan, because, and again, I genuinely just wanted to check, Mrs. Flynn. It's not that I'm challenging your point or challenging the data. It's that I wanted to know if you meant that we are not academically meeting the goals of the students who are there getting getting the care that they and the education that they are supposed to be.
One more time.
All I was stating was there are several rubrics that are listed on EdSite that look at preschool topics, including peer-to-peer ratio. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm happy to provide it to you, but that's what they look at. There are markers across our state that the state measures in terms of preschool. I'm happy to send them over.
Well, no, I've been on EdSite. It's that you made the statement, and again, this does have something to do with facilities, Mr. Peterson, I assure you, that and the peer model, I definitely understand that, Mrs. Flynn, because obviously that's something that, you know, Mr. Mancusi has been before us countless times talking about how vitally important it is that we have a good ratio there. So if that's what it is, I understand that. You also mentioned the idea of needing time, and that's exactly where my issue is. None of my debate is regarding the support for Dwight needing to move forward and needing to move forward in a timely fashion for that building committee to get to its work as soon as possible. But one thing I want to point out, 4 members of this board were serving in 2019 when we began, as Mr. Asa referenced, continuing our discussion of the ECC. And at a previous meeting, one board member here referenced that we've been talking about this forever and never have we been making a decision. But here's one thing definitively in text, in paper, in a report that went out from the 9 members of the Board of Education in 2019 was that we did not believe in having an inequitable offering to our students, meaning one model in one place and a different model in another place. Now, we have had to do it due to the fact that Ward truly could not handle, unless we started running classes until 8 o'clock at night, Ward could not handle our current ECC population. So we have been forced by virtue of that to use Stratfield and now extending that to Holland Hill. But if we are saying as a board that that is the preferred model, then how are we not talking about closing the Ward site and completely divesting it of the ECC business and putting it all in our elementary schools? If that is our belief, we have not had that conversation. And so you can't argue one and say this is the better preferred model and not turn right around and recognize you could then have those families at Ward saying, well, then why am I stuck in the inferior model? I don't happen to believe it is. And I don't believe we have any data to support that it is. But I would just caution people about, you know, making that argument. Because again, in 2019, and we can say, well, we no longer agree with that board, but 4 of us up here were united in that statement, which is that we should not have 2 different offerings as part of this district and how we educate these students who are at their absolutely most vulnerable educational moment. And so with that in mind, that has been part of what I've been concerned. Because we've had no discussion about giant steps, when this goes before the Board of Finance, it won't even be part of their conversation unless they proactively bring it up, because it will appear nowhere in the waterfall. Now, that said, I want to be clear. I'm not bringing forward an amendment to add it because I couldn't agree with Mrs. Flynn more. That to do so would be entirely premature, reflecting a conversation specifically to that with the new information we received at the end of August. We're not prepared to do something, and I think it would be quite foolhardy for me to do so without some of the conversations, and again, to Mrs. Flynn's point, the data that would need to be gathered. But I just remind you, what we are looking to put into as a permanent part of our structure is 2 different ways of meeting the educational needs of these students. And if there's data out there to prove that one is better than the other, how does that not guide our future look as reflected in this planning document? So that's something I've been wrestling with.
All right, other comments from board members? I'll just offer briefly, I intend to support this document as currently construed without further amendment. I share some of the concerns that Mr. Asa brought up about cadence of projects as they go out across the decade. I am worried that our waterfall has more dollars on it than the town may be prepared to finance. But that's another discussion. In terms of a document that encapsulates what this board's priorities are, I think the current waterfall has the support of the majority of the board, and that's what, if this passes through, I will be presenting next week to the capital workshop. Having said that, any other board comments? Mrs. Jacobson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Peterson. I just want to say, doesn't sound like we have much more to discuss, but I wanted to thank everybody who followed along for the last 2+ years in this process. Going back, it's been 2 years in the work and a lot longer before that. And to the committee members and all of the administrators who took time to come and meet with us on this plan on at all levels to lend insight into their buildings and how they operate. I especially want to express thanks to those who have ECC in their buildings and to our ECC director, who lended a lot of input into this as well. And I think tonight is a great night. For the first time, we have an ed spec where we are modernizing what we're doing in our schools, that we are actually building inclusive environments for our special education students that are attached to our elementary schools at this point. And I'm super thrilled to vote on this. And I hear what you're saying, Mr. Peterson, but my focus is on our students and our staff. And this waterfall right here provides healthy, safe, inclusive environments for all our kids and for our teachers and for the health of the buildings themselves. So I can't wait to vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just stress conversation with the town is not over, as you well know. But this is an important step that we are taking tonight. Any further board comment? Mrs. Maxon Kennelly.
I actually have, because I usually got the summaries of the capital planning workshops. I never was able to attend. I tried to watch online, but I've dealt a lot with summaries. And I'm curious to both, through the chair to Mrs. Jacobson and to you, Mr. Peterson, as our most recent chairs, what is because I don't know, they may say, I fully anticipate that this is going to pass. And the nature of the conversation that takes place, because also I would love to tell the public it's done and over, but I think most people are savvy enough to know that it is not. What is likely to be the definitive or not nature of that discussion next week? And again, this is over the course of a few years, how you would characterize that conversation to know if in fact we're being given any form of direction of we need to bring this topic back up for conversation, or is it truly just until they act with votes on money for projects, we're just going to be left waiting for that, because that vote is not happening next week. They're going to receive the capital planning work, but they're not voting on any money definitively. So if you could just help me and help the public with that timeline.
Sure. Assuming everything goes forward, again, it'll be real when the money happens. At our next meeting on the 24th, we will have, I've been told, a draft of our annual capital non-recurring request to go before the town. We will discuss that, vote that out in early October, and then that will go to the other town boards. They, at that point, can add that to their agenda and vote bonding funds for those projects. This is what didn't happen last year. I think it's important to note, is that we made the request at this table. Those projects were not added to the agendas by the Board of Finance or the Board of Selectmen, and they preferred at that point in time to go through the hiring a consultant, going through the working group process, going through the process to try to get better numbers and to look at additional scenarios. So if everything goes according to plan and other town bodies approve put their stamp on what we're doing tonight, then by late October, early November, there should be a commitment by the town to bond the funds for the projects for this coming fiscal year. If there are additional conversations to be had, we'll get a signal of that at the capital planning workshop. But what I have been when I've been having conversations over the past couple of months with other town officials, they've expressed a lot of interest. Mr. Asa mentioned this earlier, that in some ways this is a living document, and things can get moved and shifted and changed based on circumstances. And I think that there is a hunger for a more ongoing conversation about projects, obviously in the near term, but also where they might fit going forward. So I anticipate in coming years there will be kind of more frequent meetings between the Board of Ed, the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen about any potential changes as circumstances on the ground evolve. If there are changes that we are asked to make at that point, then those will come to us. But I don't know that I don't know exactly what I expect out of the board, out of the capital planning workshop. I do know that the meeting that I had, at which I was presented with a draft town capital plan, did include a Dwight project in fiscal 27, or in this current fiscal year, 26, 27. So I know that they believe that that project is likely coming to them. Their concern, First Selectman's concern, was adding additional projects to the waterfall may complicate things further down the road. So not to make any representations about what next week or the next month is going to hold. But I think if there are going to be conversations to be had, they may be about projects beyond this fiscal year. So that's kind of a roundabout way of saying I will wait to see what they say. But I think that they know that a new request for a new Dwight is coming at this price point.
I'm sorry, I've just, again, because I'm looking for that full picture and I'm curious if Mrs. Jacobson could just characterize, like, whenever you were getting pushback, how definitive was the nature in the previous couple of years?
I don't remember any pushback at the capital planning summits per se. Questions for sure, right? Like definitely hard questions. And the good news is that most of the numbers on here for the 26, 27 item were not originated from us, but were originated from a town project. So I'm not sure how many questions there could be on that. And the town boards have known that we've been trying to finish HVAC in our buildings. So there, besides the turf fields, I mean, I remember even going back to Mrs. Kupchik's administration when we had the working group and we were meeting on all of that. And it has been, you know, repeatedly stated that our waterfall is like roofs and boilers and bathrooms and, right, and air, right? Definitely hard questions, though. I wouldn't say pushback. So I think Mr. Peterson, I agree with him, is that at the end of the day, we vote on our books, they go in front of them, and then that becomes what happens. I mean, it starts at the first selectman's level. They decide to put what they will on an agenda to the Board of Selectmen, then the Board of Finance and the RTM, as you know. So I don't remember it being difficult, to be honest. So that was my, yep.
There will be questions, though. You said,
Absolutely.
why are they
Lot-
going to have questions? They will have
Yeah,
questions.
of course they will have questions. I'm sure they will have questions, and I wouldn't expect anything less. Of course, they're the, you know, town body, so yeah, that's it.
Ms. Maxwell, you still have the floor. Are you finished?
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Krasnoff.
Just a quick thing, since it seems like no projects are going to change, I would like to possibly ask, instead of just doing a draft next meeting, maybe we just go right to a vote. Just do the timeline. I think it might be the smart thing to do. I don't want to change procedure per se, but unless anyone foresees any massive changes, we shouldn't be having any surprises. It's no different than when we bring a policy back up when we go right to a vote. Thank you.
We're voting tonight on the waterfall. What we discussed this actually just a half an hour ago in leadership, and whether we should take the capital and recurring capital non-recurring request and just have it as a one and done.
Yes.
My inclination is to not do that, because there are other topics on that, like the field on which the community has not had an opportunity to comment. I get what you're saying. I may talk to Mr. Papa George and Mr. Testani and maybe reach out to the Board of Finance and the First Selectman to see if they would prefer it that way. Then I will certainly take that into consideration. I understand where you're coming from. It has not normally been our procedure. Obviously, we've been talking about facilities now for a couple of months. So for our standpoint, it's not as important to have two meetings. For the public and for other town bodies, it may be. But Ms. Jacobson.
Well, it's not for the town bodies. They don't need two meetings. We did talk about this earlier today, this morning as well. And since we've had all these special meetings, I would encourage that. And the reason why that is that's 3 weeks of wasted time that we could be engaging with the other town boards on this. And as everyone knows, we do need to have that all through by November. So a mid-October vote for us puts the other boards and Mr. Papa George and Mr. Testani in not a good situation, or in a more challenging situation. So I would hope that it would be an approval, and I'll just put the board on notice. If it comes as a first read, I will motion to make it an approval that night. So thank you.
Any other questions from the board on our waterfall motion? Seeing none, before we take it to a vote, I'll reopen it to the public. If you have not already commented and you would like to comment on our agenda item tonight and only our agenda item. You have 3 minutes. Please feel free. Otherwise, maybe we can get you home. Seeing none, back to the board. Any further oh, I'm sorry. Please come on up. What's your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, Nicole Olson, 172 Cedar Road. I'm here from the building committee. I'm here with my own opinion. I do not represent the building committee. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I'm a very big numbers person. That's why I went into interior design. I love old things. I want to start with that. Like, my biggest favorite thing is to redo an old house. Normally, that requires millionaires, and I want everyone to keep that in mind. There's a reason people who do not have a lot of money don't go live in a mansion made of wood that is post and beam. We can renovate the school and it will save us money now. But I'm wondering how much people have researched into your normal maintenance schedule comes with a normal budget. What is your maintenance schedule going to be in 10 years for a building that is enveloped in new, but underneath might still have the issues that we were dealing with anyway? So please just keep that in mind in the back of your head, because I'm looking at 1F, 1B, and I'm comparing them. 1F comes with a 20-year warranty, a 60-year lifetime. Let's give that a 40-year lifetime to cut for the fact that you're gonna still run into issues. That averages $1.5 million a year that we paid for the building if you spread it across its lifespan. If you do the 20-year like new reno, it's $36 million. Which is $1.8 million over the 20-year span that it is estimated it will last. That's a savings of $300,000 per year. Doesn't sound big in the grand scheme of what we're doing here, but if we ask any of our teachers or staff, $300,000 a year back to the schools is what that really is. It's money. I know we don't have it in our pockets, but that's the savings every year to build Dwight. And I would again implore that we look into the idea that Spiegel mentioned and somebody up here brought, which was brilliant. Let's also see if we can try and find out what the cost would be to have the foundation of the new buildings, especially that if we do the ECC on the Dwight site, it is a single level up top at the moment. Can we find out what it would cost to build the foundation to possibly 20, 30 years down the road as this town grows, which it is, put a new addition above that someday that will save our future Dwight families and in turn our future Fairfield families money. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the board. Any further board comment on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Mr. Krasnoff, Mr. Lee, Mrs. Jacobson, Mrs. Flynn, Mr. Peterson, Mr. Asa, Mrs. Guernsey, and Mrs. Rinaldi. All opposed? Any abstentions? Mrs. Maxon Canelli. Vote passes 8-0-1. Thank you very much. And with that, and no other items of business on our agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Asa, seconded by Mrs. Guernsey. All in favor? As unanimous. Thank you very much.